You only need 10 minutes of actual work to start a world-class batch of mead. But if you spend that time wrong, you're just wasting expensive honey. Most people make mead way too complicated, but I'm going to show you a repeatable system for clean, pro-level flavor with zero guesswork. I'll even reveal the one safety checkpoint at the end that prevents your bottles from literally exploding in your closet. Before you touch a single drop of honey, you have to fix your water. If you use chlorinated tap water, your mead will end up with a medicinal plastic-like character that never ages out. Switch to filtered or reverse osmosis water immediately to give your honey a clean canvas. This is the single fastest way to make your honey actually taste like honey. Our goal is to build a must that is perfectly measured so that the fermentation becomes boring. In mead making, boring is the goal because it means no stalls, no off flavors. To keep the process moving, get your gear ready now so you aren't scrambling with sticky hands. You'll need a fermenter with a tight lid, an airlock to vent gas, and sanitized stirring gear. For measurements, have your hydrometer or refractometer, a pH meter, a thermometer, a digital scale, and measuring spoons ready. If you want to go high-tech, tools like Anton Par Easy Dens with SmartRef make tracking gravity easy with a tiny sample, but simple tools work just fine as long as you have a no-rinse sanitizer like Star San on standby. The very first step is the most important, sanitation. This is non-negotiable. Anything that touches your must, the fermenter, lid, bung, airlock, and meters must be sanitized. Every single shortcut here creates a flavor flaw you won't even notice until weeks later when the batch is already ruined. Proper sanitation is the cheapest quality upgrade you can get. Now, look at your honey. If it's thick or crystallized, you do not want to boil or pasteurize it because heat destroys the delicate floral aromas you paid for. Instead, keep the container sealed and set it in a warm water bath between 100 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. You aren't cooking the honey, you're just loosening it up so it pours and mixes effortlessly. When you're ready to mix, pour your clean water into the fermenter first, but don't fill it to the top yet. Leaving that extra space makes it much easier to mix the honey without sloshing sticky liquid all over your counter. Add your honey and dissolve it completely. This is more than a lazy swirl. You need a uniform mix. Uneven mixing leads to false gravity reading and erratic yeast behavior. For additional semi-sweet mead, I aim for an original gravity near 1120, which lands you around 13 to 14% alcohol with a satisfying finish. You can use a rough ratio of 3 parts water to 1 part honey by volume, but your gravity reading is the only measurement that tells you the final truth. This is also where you stop guessing and check your pH. You want to start your pH between 3.6 and 4.0 to keep the bacteria out, while staying friendly for your yeast growth. For a quick preview, mix 1 cup of water with 1/3 cup of honey and test that first to see how your specific water and honey will react. Top up your water to the final batch volume and mix again to ensure the entire must is uniform. If you want to oxygenate your must, do it now before the fermentation actually starts. This is also the moment you take your final original gravity reading and write it down, recording the date, the honey amount, and the yeast strain. A refractometer is fast for this initial step. But remember that once the alcohol is present, refractometers become unreliable without correction math. From this point on, trust your hydrometer for your stability checks. If you're using easy dens, you can track this with tiny samples to avoid wasting any of your must. When it comes to your airlock setup, keep it simple. For beginners, a classic water-filled airlock is safe and effective. If you have a pressure-capable fermenter, you can use a spunding valve later as a finesse tool to preserve delicate honey scents, which become a major advantage later in the process. Your choice of yeast shapes the entire aroma and finish. Always read the spec sheet and respect the temperature range. I love QA23 for clean, bright, traditional meads. And at that 1120 gravity, 71B is great for fruit-forward batches, while D47 provides a rounder mouthfeel if you keep it cool. The rule is simple. Pick a strain that matches your style so you aren't trying to fix off notes later. As soon as the yeast goes in, your job is simply to manage the temperature and nutrition. I use a TOSNA style schedule with Fermaid only, no DAP. For an 1120 gravity, you need about 4.2 grams of Fermaid per gallon total, split into 4 equal doses. Add these at 24, 48, and 72 hours, with the final dose at 1/3 sugar break, about 1080 for this batch. To avoid a foam volcano, Always degass mead first and dissolve the nutrients in a small cup of must before adding them back. Temperature is your biggest flavor lever. I keep the internal temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Staying below 66 degrees helps avoid hot alcohols that taste like solvent. For the first 5 days, use a sanitized wine whip to degass the mead twice daily to reduce yeast stress. After day 5, stop degassing to protect the mead from oxygen. This brings us to the safety checkpoint. Never trust bubbles in your airlock or the date on the calendar. Only trust gravity. Your mead is only finished when the gravity holds perfectly steady over multiple readings taken several days apart. For the semi-sweet target, I usually land about 10-20. If you want to add more honey or fruit after it's finished, you must stabilize first using potassium sorbate and potassium metasulfite together to protect your work. If you want to take your mead to the next level, try gentle pressure fermentation. Using a spunding valve and a pressure-rated fermenter lets you trap a little CO2, which helps preserve those delicate honey aromatics and reduces oxygen contact. It can even give you a soft, natural carbonation right out of the vessel. Just keep the pressure modest, never exceed your equipment's rating, and treat it as a finishing touch. If you want to still mead, just vent the pressure before you package it. The setup is quick, the quality comes from doing it clean, measured, and consistent if you use clean tools and measured targets. If you're stuck on your water, pH, or gravity readings, drop your details in the comments and I will help you troubleshoot it. If those tips were helpful, hit the like button so other mead makers can find this and subscribe for updates that actually help you level up your next batch. And if you want to keep going, tap on one of those videos on the screen. Happy mead making.